What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. I placed in the top 32 this past weekend at Richmond Regionals with Trevenant. On screen is my deck, and you can export the deck list from Limitless if you wanted to try out yourself for Portland. And I'll be giving my tournament report for day 1 and day 2 in this video. So round 1, I played against a Trev Mirror. That was probably the last thing I was expecting to see, especially since it was not one of the people playing the same list or similar list as I was. I won 2-1, but that Mirror is like really painful to play. Game 1, I believe he took because he won game 1. I started a Lele, and he got the item lock off first. I wasn't able to get the item lock off since my list isn't playing Dimension Valley, so I could not retreat and use Ascension on my first turn going second since I started not a Phantom. If I got Guzma, I would have been able to do that, but that would have been pretty unreasonable to hope for since I started with the Lele. Game 2, he started Espeon, and I believe, like, Let Loose Power Plant, then turn 2 Evolve, and I got a really slow start going, but he couldn't do much. He did get a Trevenant breakout at some point, but I was fortunate enough that he attached a Special Energy as his first attachment, and I was able to hammer that off. And he wasn't able to use his hammers since I had the Trevenant active first. His Trevenant was on the bench, and he hadn't retreated the Espeon EX yet. But I won game 2 pretty handedly, just saying Silent Fear until everything was dead. That was kind of what he did as well in game 1. And then game 3, I started Espeon, he started Lele, so it was pretty poor starts for both of us. Excuse me. But I just kind of drew better, I guess, in game 3. There's not too much skill involved in this. I think I was able to Guzma something up and keep it active for a turn or two, but really nothing else too fancy happened there. I just happened to come out on top of the Mirror. Round 2, I played against Seagrove, playing Zoro Viper. His Zorak build with the Vipers that increase the poison damage, and playing lasers. Games 1 and 3 were pretty easy because I just go like Ascension, like Let Loose Power Plant, Ascension, and then Enhanced Hammer, Faba as energies, and Silent Fear until everything's dead. Game 2, he was able to donk my lone Phantom though, since he started with the Viper on bench. He Rigided for 3 more, and then Laser. That's 50 poison damage between turns. But yeah, games 1 and 3 were pretty easy. Zoro Control, I played against Joey Rudiger here in round 3. I took a fairly quick game 1. I think that one lasted between, I'd say, 8 and 15 minutes, because I think I remember looking at my watch and knowing that we had over 35 minutes for game 2 and possibly game 3. But I was able to lock him out of the game pretty well. Most of my opponents as of game 1 weren't expecting the heavy power plant and whatnot in the deck, like that secondary lock. So like the Let Loose Power Plant Ascension into Trev in games 1 really screwed up some of my opponents, and I was able to just lock something active in Silent Fear until his stuff was gone. Game 2, he was able to get out of the lock a few times of the power plant. He was running either 3 or 4 stadiums, I believe. I think it was 2 Silent Lab, a Team Aqua's base, and a Parallel City, but I could be wrong, but I believe that was a stadium lineup. So he was able to bump the power plant in enough time, most of the time, in game 2. And then we had a time extension. We knew time was coming. and he just went into the Team Rocket's handiwork strategy, and he ended up getting double heads twice in a row on Team Rocket's handiwork. If he had gotten a single heads and then a double tails, I believe the game would not have ended potentially, and I would have won just off of the game one. But as long as he had gotten at least one heads on each of those handiworks, I believe he was going to win. He was going to win before time was called and then before turn 3. So I tied there. I ties kind of tilt me, but it was a good tie, I guess. Joey's a good player. It's a close matchup, so I can't be too upset. There wasn't any like crap going on that caused a tie like sometimes have happened. Nobody slow played or anything. Next I played against Ryan Antonucci playing Eggrow. This one was kind of bittersweet since I was the one who told him Eggrow was a good deck, and here we are, and I'm pretty sure this was an auto loss going in, but I found out that you can mess up this version of the deck a little more since they're less consistent than the full grip games version of the list. So game 1, I believe I took. It's a very, very tough matchup, but if they bench anything really that's not an Eggrow, you can Guzma around the Eggrow that they have active, and then try to hit the Eggrow on the bench. They'll AZ the active thing eventually, hit you with the Eggrow, then you go Energy Drive, they knock out the Lele, then you go Psychic Assault with Wobbuffet. Psychic Assault, Wobbuffet, and the Energy Drive from Lele are what's critical in winning games versus Eggrow with this deck, because those are your only like damage outputs higher than 60. And if you don't know, Rowlet Executor tag team's second attack, it does 150 and heals 30, so the chip damage from Trevenant's almost pointless once they have energy to attack every turn. And then game 2, he won pretty handedly, and then game 3, I just needed to swing with my Lele once, and then swing with my Psychic Assault Wobbuffet once to take 3 more prize cards. And I attached, so he Cynthia'd last turn, swung 150 into my Trevenant break. I go attach a Mystery Energy to Lele, pass. He Fabas it. I go Mystery Energy to Lele, pass. He has the second Faba in hand, and they only played 2 Faba. And then I go either N or Ace Trainer him down to 3, and then attach Counter Energy to Lele, pass. And he has the Guzma to GX attack my Lele, which on prizes doesn't win him the game, but it won him the game by taking out my Lele and taking out my energy attachment. So he hit some high variance cards in his hand there, but yeah, he won game 3, so that was my first loss. I'm 2-1-1 after round 4. Round 5, I play against Zoroark Control. I 2-0'd this Zoroark Control. He got 2 double prize penalties in game 1. I'll just go over this briefly since I did make a post about it in Hey Fonte yesterday. But so I go second, I Ascension into Trevenant. He picks up Trevenant to read Forest Curse. He acknowledges that it's an item lock while it's active. He draws for turn, looks at his hand for a second, plays Cherish Ball, and picks up his deck and starts searching. And I was like, yo, you just read that this is item lock. I call a judge, double prize penalty, shuffle deck, Cherish Ball back in hand. Game goes on for a couple more turns. He plays Sycamore, and then he goes to play Gladion. I stop him before he can pick up his cards just in time with Gladion. That would have been a game loss. I could only assume looking at your prizes with the second supporter for your turn. So I stop him there. Game goes on for like 10 more minutes. He replaces my power plant with Silent Lab and quickly goes Propagate Trade. He couldn't use Propagate as his trade fodder because he has Silent Lab out. Another double prize penalty. Then he, after that, he had 90 damage on a Lele. He knocks out my active with Zoroark, and I the knockout activates my counter energy, luckily, so I can just go Guzma, counter energy, Wobbuffet, Psychic Assault on their Lele for 100 for game. And then game 2, I just, let loose Power Plant, Ascension, and Silent Fear until everything's gone. Game 2 was pretty easy. So 2-0 there versus my second Zoro control of the day, putting me at 3-1-1. Next round, unfortunately, I played against my mom playing Buzzgarb, so that was a quick 2-0. Then round 7, I played against Zach Cooper playing Buzzgarb, finally hitting some good matchups after all these tough ones I've had. Another quick 2-0, so that puts me at 5-1-1. So this, if I win either of my next 2 rounds, I'm in day 2. Round 8, I'm against Caleb Gedimer playing Zorak control. This is my third Zorak control of the day. I won game 1, lost game 2, won game 3. Game 1, actually, I believe games 1 and 2 he Brigited for 3 Zorua, which I'm not sure is correct because you want to stagger your Zoruas versus Trevenant. But game 1, he fully committed to the control gameplay, like going for resource management and stuff. I don't think he ever took a knockout with Zorak. And eventually I got my power plants and enhanced hammers and my Trevenant and everything to stick. And I just Silent Feared until I won the game. Game 2, he started attacking with Zorarks. He had a double water energy Zorak attacking me, which is pretty tough to get around since I can't remove its energies. And I was also drawing really, really poorly. Like, there was 3 turns, I think, where off of my N or Cynthia, I needed a counter catcher to stay in the game, and I just never drew it, so I scooped. And then game 3, I went, let loose Plant, and then Trevenant and Enhanced Hammer next turn, and he went with the attacking strategy again, but it didn't work as well because I drew at least moderately well that game. And my second or third power plant just ended up sticking, and I Silent Feared until everything was gone. So I won the game, and at that point I was 6-1-1. So I'm locked into day 2. Round 9, I play against Ian Robb, another friend on Egg Rail, the same list that Ryan Antonucci was playing. So another person that is essentially playing Egg Rail because of me, and I'm going into a bad matchup. So that feels good. We ended up tying though. It's after, so I won game 1. It was very close. I end him down to 1 or 2 cards, and after, if you can end them down to 1 or 2 cards and they have more than just an Egg Rail on the board, you can lock something up and hopefully Silent Fear until there's enough damage on the Egg Rail to Guzma or Counter Catcher for Psychic Assault, and then just run through whatever's left on the board. And that's kind of what I did there. At one point, his third energy on the Egg Rail was the Super Boost energy, so I was able to just Enhanced Hammer that off and end him and make him need an extra energy. Game 2 was very, very close as well. I end him down to 2, and he needed a single Grass energy off of either this top deck or next turn's top deck, or I would win with 2 energy drives in a row. But he ended up getting a Computer Search and 2 other cards, and just Computer Search for the Grass energy to win. And then I offered an ID there. He didn't want the ID, and we ended up just running out of time anyway, so we tied. So going into day 2 with 20 points, I know there's a lot of auto wins for me. Night Marches, Buzzgarbs, a few Zoro controls, which I wouldn't mind hitting since I'm comfortable in that matchup at this point. Bees, I didn't realize Finton and Rahul were both playing the Bronzong line in Bees, so I thought the Bees would have been a little easier. But then there's also like 8 to 10 Egg Rails, I think, in day 2, and a couple Pikas and a couple Turbo Darks. I don't want to hit the Turbo Darks or Pikas because those are just auto losses. I'm not winning those. And I also don't want to hit the Guardian, but I would take the Egg Rails over those since I know I can at least tie to those sometimes. So round 1 of day 2, round 10, I hit Pika Rom, piloted by my friend Harris. I got swiftly 0-2'd there, so I got a nice little break for the start of day 2. So 6-2-2 there. Round 11, I play against Connor Finton playing Bees. We ended up tying that. I needed one more turn of Silent Fear to not tie that. But game 1, basically, he played 3 or 4 battle compressors. Turn 1, just thinned his deck down to like 15 or less cards. He like just went through everything, so my ends barely even mattered later in the game. He was just able to, like, hit a DC or hit a Guzma, then versus Seeker the Guzma back so he could special charge things in. So yeah, game 1 went very well for him. Oh, he also got Bronzong down turn 1. So game 1 went very well for Connor. Game 2 was kind of the opposite. He never established the Bronzong and was barely keeping himself in the game, attacking for not one-shot knockouts, barely keeping a bench going. And then game 3 was actually very even, but at the end of the game, I kind of got him with an Enhanced Hammer N or an Enhanced Hammer Ace Trainer. And like I said, if I had one more turn of Silent Fear, I think I would have ended up winning that one. But we tied, so I'm 6-2-3. Round 12, I play against Alex Shemansky, who's playing Buzzgarb. Game 1, I win. Game 2, Alex played very perfectly and did not throw or get tilted like I've seen people get in auto loss matchups. And he benched the Buzzmosa later. And what the Buzzmosa does with Buzzgarb is versus Trev, I'm sorry, is that if I benched anything that's not a Trev, he can Guzma up, like, say, the Wobbuffet, and if I don't have enough energy left, he can just keep it there and swing with Jet Punch. And then versus Seeker the Guzma back while it's there, and then when that's dead, he can Guzma something else up, and until he can get a Beast Game GX off for the game. Or even just leave it there until I deck out. I miscounted my energies in the prizes, so I had 3 energies prize. I thought I had 2. So I drew 1 off the prizes and thought I had 1 in the prizes, counted my energy in the discard, said, okay, I have this many left in deck. So I misplaced an energy attachment, allowing him to go for the just pass until I mill out gameplay. So when I realized that was happening, I could have made that game go on for like maybe 5 more minutes by playing ends and stuff, but once I saw that, I'm out of energy, I do have 2 more energies prized, I just scooped and went to game 3, and then game 3 went as it usually does for Trev, let loose, and then Forest Curse and Silent Fear until everything's gone. So that was my first win of day 2. So I'm at 7-2-3. Yeah, 7-2-3. I believe that's 21. Yeah, it's 24 points. Round 13, I hit another pretty bad matchup. I hit Andrew Mahone playing Eggrow, and this list is different than the one Nucci and Ian Robb were playing, and I think this one's actually a worse matchup for me. He just went single Eggrow, attach, and start attacking, and they're playing 4 Faba, and my deck is playing a lot of special energy. So it just wasn't fun. Game 2, I scooped pretty quickly since my Lele was prized, and I knew I would never get sufficient damage on the board against his Eggrow, so I just scooped game 2 pretty quick. So that's an 0-2 versus Eggrow, putting me at 24 points. So we did the math, and we looked at some past regionals of similar numbers, and we decided that 25 points was going to be safe. So I just ID'd. Versus later, what I found out was an auto win. James Langley playing Regirock Ninja Boy. But it turned out 25 pointers could miss, and I think like 1 did. Fortunately, it was not myself. So I got 31st place with Trevenant. I was very happy to get that placement. And I'll be writing, and I'll have an article published on Flipside Gaming kind of on my thoughts on Trevenant leading up to the event, and kind of like my preparation for the event for the 3 weeks prior to Richmond. I did a lot of testing for the event, and I decided that Trevenant was probably one of the best meta calls Eggrow was also very good, but in testing, Eggrow wasn't doing what it should consistently for me. So I wasn't very safe going with Eggrow. Also, shout out to Will Jenkins for testing and theorying, and also we worked on the list together, and I believe he worked on the list with Justin Bakari as well, and there were about a group of 6 of us or so that played like 59 out of 60 of the same cards. Brian Hunter got 9th after day 2. He was playing 59 out of 60 of this list, I believe. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check out flipsidegaming.com and use code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order, $10 or more. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.